Good evening. After a week of high-octane politics, the Ugandan opposition marched out of parliament in protest of the arrest, torture, and disappearance of its members. The walkout was a watershed moment in the debate after author Kakwenza Rukirabashaija showed the public grisly images of his torture whilst in detention. We now learn that Kakwenza has fled the country for exile. Will this compel a national debate on the behavior of the security forces, or will it yet again be another in a long list of actions in a political contest without end? Tonight on the spot is the Army spokesperson, Lieutenant Col Ronald Kakurungu, legislator Muwanga Kivumbi, and lawyer and human rights activist Eron Kiiza. Gentlemen, I want to thank you so much for having, honored our invitation. A warm welcome to all of you, gentlemen. You're most welcome.
Thank you.
And I must say, Uganda is watching, Uganda is listening, the spotlight is on you. And let me begin with you, Eron Kiiza, because you are so close to me here. Kakwenza has become a global sensation because of what we saw that happened to him while in detention, but more so in the last 48 hours because we are told he fled Uganda. You are his lawyer. Where is Kakwenza?
It's not wise to specifically say where he is for his safety until he reaches his destination, which he hasn't reached. So someone in transit, the good soldier in our midst will tell you if he's going clandestinely like he did, then his cover shouldn't be blown, and it's not my duty to blow it.
So he flew out, he walked out, he was driven out, he took a train, or he swam through Lake Victoria. How did he get out?
I mean, it is in the interest of Kakwenza that the flurry of speculation continues until he releases his next blockbuster book about this ordeal. Ugandans have a way of getting out of Uganda when they are when their life is in jeopardy, like Kakwenza's was, and Museveni but he left the country in like circumstances. We remember SJ. The 1986 class, before it went about its work, they were mostly out of the country. And for me, the key thing is that we are witnessing a resuscitation of what we thought had been resigned to our past, and how people are freeing out of this country is really a minor details. The question that we should be interrogating is, why are people beginning to flee the Pearl of Africa?
So you are his lawyer. You have defended him in court. Eron Kiiza, we have seen gory images of Kakwenza, images that can scare you to the bone marrow, to show the cruelty of man against his fellow man. But you talked to him, you saw him. Briefly, what was his ordeal like? What did he tell you?
He was on the phone. I was on the phone when he was being arrested, and I had a soldier, and he was arrested by a combination of soldiers and other security people, 12 soldiers and a few policemen, a group of 20 people in 2 drones and 2 small cars. So I was on phone, and I had the soldier say that we are going to break your door and then break your leg. And indeed, they delivered on their promise. Right now, his leg is broken. He cannot walk properly. His ankle is seriously broken, amongst other things. When I visited him in Chitalia, I found a man whose back was full of wounds. I found a man whose arm was cut. It was the wounds were healing. He wanted to show me his rotting ass. I refused because in some cultures that could be a curse. seeing someone's buttocks, so I was very reluctant. So the only part that the SFC in Entebbe, and that's
So what you're saying, what you're
Kamara.
saying, they could have shoved sticks or whatever it is in his butt.
Yeah, his back and butt was completely full of wounds. Yeah, eventually, of course, the video, as you could see, could show the healing wounds. So the only part that SFC didn't beat was his head and his chest and stomach in this area. But the rest, as he narrated to us, his thighs were plucked. Fresh was plucked with magalo.
Pliers.
Yeah, from this. And so it's difficult to comprehend what he went through. Mostly you would want to go, it's people who have gone through it, the likes of Zake and other torture victims that can properly. I also had a discussion with Bobby Wine and you saw his statement. Like, it's people who have been tortured that properly understand torture. But of course, even us who interact with torture victims, we get traumatized. So when I met him in prison, I was lost for words. I didn't know what to tell him. I looked at him, he looked at me, he was the first one to speak. I had no energy to advise him as the lawyer. I was the one supposed to encourage him. Then I found myself in a situation whereby it was the torture victim almost encouraging me, because the Kakwenza I saw, and I want to repeat this, which I said when I came out, like, you would not see Kakwenza and even dare abuse Muhozi or his father, because what they directed to be done to Kakwenza was completely monstrous, it was barbaric, and it was heart-wrenching.
Okay, even as you describe what you saw and what you heard from Kakwenza, that description alone is gut-wrenching. Let me come to you, Lieutenant Col Ronald Kakurungu, because you speak for the UPDF. The man security agencies arrested was a man in good health. A few days, the man you returned to the public was a man you had almost taken to hell and back. What happened to him was despicable. How has the UPDF, in which you serve with a lot of pride, how has it reached this level of turning itself into a torture machine with no soul?
Patrick, fortunately, he has not said that it is UPDF that tortured Kakwenza.
SFC is part of UPDF for people who don't know. It's called Special Forces Command of Uganda People's Defense Forces.
Okay, one at a time.
Was he in detention of SFC?
Yes. I said clearly that he was in Entebbe for 2 weeks, SFC torture dungeon in Entebbe. The Uganda Human Rights Commission tried to access him, they were blocked. Everyone who went there was blocked.
Anyway, those are huge allegations.
These are facts. They are facts, they are not allegations.
But you were speaking and we listened to you.
Yeah, but
okay, one at a time.
And the civilization really demands that we listen to one another.
Civilization prevents torture.
So
don't play the civilization card here.
What's the point of coming here and you want to make it a shouting match?
No, it's not a shouting match, but I have a right
to Eron,
yes.
and Ronald, just behave like Honorable Kivumbi. Let us speak one at a time.
Because he was speaking.
Okay, Col Kakurungu, you're on the floor.
Thank you. And that's the purpose of having a moderator. Otherwise, we shall end up in a shouting match, which is not helpful to our listeners, viewers rather. What I want to say is that the question you put, Patrick, I think the record of UPDF has been clear, written, practical, and otherwise, for quite a long time. And the issue of Kakwenza, the way he's putting it, and I read the thing that even they went to court, his lawyers, and filed a case. If there is a case, I really do not think we should even be you're discussing things that are already in court. You call it what? Sub judice. But what I want to say is that torture is a criminal offense. All of us know that. And nobody condones torture in this country. Not the president is trying to accuse here. He has actually been one of the proponents against torture in the country. We have, as a country, the Honorable Member of Parliament is here, ratified very many laws, both local and international. The land friends here know that better than even us. So there is not anyone in a position of leadership or authority in this country that has come out to say that torture is one of the methods that should be used anywhere against anybody. So my simple advice is that torture being an offense, a crime, if anybody is tortured, there are ways which they can use to get redress. Report a case in police, go to court like you're saying, investigations.
So let's just pause there. Col Ronald Kakurungu, pause there. Are you of the view that Kakwenza was never tortured?
I have no evidence about it.
You have not even seen images or heard him or anything. You have not even had people protesting about how he was handled.
What I am saying, if there is a case of torture, a complaint of torture, it must be registered somewhere and investigated in the correct lines of like any other crime. It's not enough for someone.
Well,
to
okay. As you speak right now, I'm running my producer running images of Kakwenza.
Let him run them.
And showing you that that man was tortured. His nails were almost being plucked out. I want to put it to you, Col Kakurungu, that you are aware. I want to put it to you that you are aware that Kakwenza was tortured. That you are aware, that you know.
No, I cannot. Because it's not my responsibility to prove torture or not torture against the person. There are other mechanisms to do that, and you know that. So why do you want me to stand and take responsibility and talk about things for which I don't have any evidence? I cannot. How can I say that?
What more evidence do you want?
What if he was involved in a motor vehicle accident, for instance? I don't know. That's what I'm saying.
So what we see on his back is a result of motor vehicle accident?
I don't know. I'm just giving an example.
Ronald Kakurungu, you are an office of the UPDF.
Yes, I am.
You are a senior officer at Lieutenant Colonel. Yes, you are a Ugandan. You cannot actually trivialize what happened to a fellow man and call it like maybe it was an accident.
I'm not trivializing.
Because you're angering Ugandans.
What I'm saying, sir, Patrick, what I'm saying, sir, if there is torture, or if there was torture, natural justice demands that any crime must be investigated and proved on its merits. Am I right? I'm insisting and saying torture is an offense. And if it happened like counsel, his lawyer is saying here, then the whole process of investigating a crime up to social condition must be followed. It's not enough to come and sit here and just say, we are saying,
let me refresh your mind. The commander-in-chief of the UPDF, the president of Uganda, referring to the Honorable Bobi Wine having been beaten in Arua, he said, yes, I looked at him and I actually saw that he had been beaten properly. These are his words. So he agrees that people can be beaten, people can be tortured, because he is on record saying that he saw Bobi Wine and realized that he had been beaten properly. That's your commander-in-chief.
Those questions, why don't you put them to him?
No, I'm trying to tell you that there is torture and it is understood from the highest office in the land.
But let me tell you, the president has been, I'm telling you, I even have letters here which has been writing himself in his pen. But
you are aware that in reference of handling Bobi Wine, President Museveni said he looked into the matter and realized that he had been beaten properly.
I did not say
this is what you do. This is the command of the force.
The commander-in-chief, I'm telling you,
it's on record.
Has been at the forefront of condemning any acts of torture. Not only torture, by the way, any other form of indiscipline among the forces or human rights abuse, anything, let alone torture.
So he condemns because he knows these acts are happening in the army, right?
No, don't say that they're happening in the army.
He's condemning what is not happening?
What I'm saying, he has been warning and cautioning stern action against anybody involved in any kind of indiscipline, human rights violation, let alone torture.
But this is the same. But this is the same leader. But this is the same leader who said Bobi Wine had been, according to his verification, beaten properly.
That statement I cannot comment on because me personally did not hear it. I'm not supposed to start talking about things.
Let me come to you, Honorable Muwanga Kivumbi. The last time I checked, you were actually even Shadow Minister of Defense. Members of Parliament
of
walked
Internal
out.
Affairs, but have since left.
Okay. Members of Parliament,
Shadow Minister
you have
of
protested,
Finance.
you have walked out, and are you likely to raise the numbers, convince your colleagues across the aisle to see Uganda and what is happening now from your prism?
It's not even a question of raising the numbers. The late Sulaiman Chigundu said the following words, and I will quote: when a country loses its way, it is incumbent upon all sober members of society to raise up, speak, and act like so. It's an individual obligation, because today it's you, the next day it's Kiiza, it's you, Kamara. You don't know what you will do to annoy the powers that be, and you have the same treat. Therefore, it's not a question. Actually, the question people of Uganda should be asking is, why are some people not willing to sign? It can't be my obligation to go out and look for members and say, please, can you sign, can you sign? The question is, given what has happened, who is that people's representative that is not willing to sign? And I think constituencies where they come from, okay, the media must profile. So why aren't you signing? Why aren't you not signing? So it's the other way around, because this is despicable. And here we go. In 1980, I think, President Yoweri Museveni did not present a manifesto to the people of Uganda, and the people bought it. He was rejected at an election, completely. Even he lost at a parliamentary level to Sam Kutesa. Then the whole fight about Ruwero was not that they promised to drive us out of poverty or to lead us to prosperity. It was a rising up to a social order, to a decay, to these kinds of actions. Pandagari, you know what happened. And they are making even people like Amin and Obote look like saints. Because for them, they faced visible, declared people who are saying, we are going to remove you through unconstitutional means. My friends, they haven't forced such a group of people and determined how they behave. Now, Kakwenza is one of the many. We're not discussing a one-off or an aberration from the normal. We are discussing a trend. I was here on your show quite a number of times when I really put a torch on Narufenya and what was happening in Narufenya then. At one time I confronted UPDF. You are talking about the torture chamber. by SFC. They had one in Imbuya. I said, you have a torture chamber in Imbuya. There was one on Chagwe Road here. Okay, Chagwe Road here. At one time I knew all the torture chambers were and the safe houses. Because out of the so many bad people, there are some good fellows who are willing to say, we don't agree with this. Can you please speak up? You know they can't speak because once they speak up, they are mutinying. But there are those who are touched. I've seen the horrible feeling of Mr. Kiiza here. That's what we've been going through. Facing victims, speaking to them. And we are speaking about Kakwenza, who is even alive. I think some people don't know the extent. He's even alive and is able to tell the story. But we are speaking about people who have completely disappeared. And some, with the reports of mortuary reports in Imulago and their burial sites, but our constitution said these 4 things, 4 reducible, 4 non-derogable rights. 1, slavery. Okay? Not a single Ugandan should be enslaved. The second thing was a fair trial in a competent court. That cannot be taken away. Then the next thing was
so the freedom from torture.
The freedom from torture. No one should be tortured for any good reason. For any good reason. The fourth one, but let me squeeze on. Let me remain on those 3. Fair trial. We've seen with evidence the powers that be trying to intimidate the courts of law. He knows, no matter the crime, there is a penal code on how I should be arrested and what should happen when I get arrested and for how long I should be held in custody without going to courts of law. All these things are well spelled out in the Constitution. We are blessed since independence. We've not had an army as educated, as enlightened,
as the UPDF.
As the UPDF.
So let me...
We also, listen, our constitution was not coached and stepped in a futuristic promise. It was one of those, most constitutions are saying from here and to our children, okay? Ours recalled the history we went through. Now, for the army that had an experience of facing Obote, facing Amin, and those who are young, their fathers faced that brutality. Some of them grew up in exile. Where do they get a moral? How do they get a heart to behave, to think that for you to go to power, you will intimidate the people and you will be feared?
Okay, let me come back to you, Eron Kiiza. You are an officer of court representing many Ugandans, you know, in their fight for justice. Do you still have any confidence in the judicial process in Uganda?
I have a duty to believe that, to be hopeful, to be optimistic, even in the midst of a lot of darkness. And yeah, I mean, we don't work in an ideal situation. It's very tricky, but if we stop believing, if we stop hoping, then we will die. I mean, pessimism kills, and I try to be hopeful, but I am alive to the challenge.
I remember a magistrate ordering the release of Kakwenza. That never happened, as when she said it. I remember when Kakwenza is asking, let me go to hospital, thinking, you know, this cannot happen, when that chance is denied. I remember when Kakwenza walked with all the torture marks, I thought maybe they're going to send him to hospital, they sent him to jail. And I'm asking you, who's representing people like him, where do you get the audacity of hope that actually the judicial process is working for Uganda?
I'm not here to defend the judiciary, but I'm also not here to condemn it. And I take cognizance of what you say, because generally speaking, and I'm happy the former Chief Justice Bart Katrebe, I think a few years ago, said it, torture victims, their address is hospital. It's wrong for the forces to bring them to court in the first place, but once they are in court, no judicial officer should have the audacity, should dare send a torture victim on remand. It's outrageous. I condemn it in the strongest terms possible. And it is unfortunate that there is a certain magistrate somewhere who sat in a court and sent someone who was tortured, who cried out to him, who showed him wounds which he could see. The arms were swelling, the ankle was, he showed him, he tried even to remove his clothes, and the man stopped him. So it was outrageous decision by the magistrate, and I condemn it. And no judicial officer should repeat that kind of misconduct, judicial misconduct. But there are many judicial officers who are standing up to injustice, to torture, and that's the law. I mean, you don't send a torture victim to remand, to prison, because hospitals are there, and that's what should be done. I mean, it was wrong. But I think even before we go very far, I think let me just take a few minutes to debunk some of the myths propagated by the UPDF mouthpiece. One, on the UPDF record, it is a torturous record. Just the other day, on November 18th and 20th, we had hundreds of corpses by UPDF on Kampala streets. That is extrajudicial killing. It is fatal torture, and UPDF is squarely responsible. So when you come here and tell us UPDF record, yes, that's the record we see of UPDF killing Ugandans on our streets. Not armed Ugandans, protesting Ugandans. The presidential stance, it is just mere words. The president is not a civil society activist, is not a private citizen. He is a fountain of honor. He wields power. He should stop torture. He cannot be like me and the Muwanga advocating for an end of torture. He can discipline these forces. So which force has he disciplined? It's not just a letter writing. That's for me. That's for articles, op-eds. That's for us ordinary citizens. The president can do something about torture. He can fire people who torture Ugandans, and he should stop lamenting. He should stop pretending that he's a civil society actor, and he should start acting presidential and sort of this torture marathon rather than postponing it to the next government.
You know, what you've just said is powerful, but let me come back to you, Lieutenant Col Ronald Kakurungu. The UPDF at the beginning had won the admiration of the world. As a fighting, let me conclude this. At the beginning had won the admiration of the world as a fighting force with incredible discipline. But what is happening now is damaging the image of UPDF beyond repair.
That's Patrick. You have worked with us for quite some time. You are not an amateur.
Yes, as a reporter, by the way.
Yeah,
okay.
You have seen a lot of our work. I've not said in any way that there isn't a problem. There could be a problem among some individuals. Okay? And our systems of dealing with any form of indiscipline, I'm telling you, are known and well documented. And you have been seeing and even reporting about them. Our courts, right from the disciplinary committee, Kiiza has always been in these courts, open, in the public. Interdisciplinary committees, division courts martial, general court martial appeals court, they are there to try errant officers of the institution who might be in conflict with the law. On very many things, let alone torture, even very minute things that may look minute, to us they are not. So that is part of the record I'm talking about. If there is any evidence that a UPDF officer so and so by name in this and this place, that information would want to have it. But it's not enough to just come and throw a blanket condemnation of the forces. That is also not fair. I want to believe that in any organization, and even the society worldwide, there are wrong characters.
But let me ask this.
That cannot be used.
It appears
now
to me that you could be speaking for the UPDF, but there are some units in the UPDF, perhaps, that are not under the command of the chief of the defense forces.
Why? the commander.
Do we have two armies and two in one, and one is maybe paying allegiance to another individual?
Those are your assumptions. And
I'm asking you, because how, clearly, an office of court, a magistrate, and all Ugandans are telling you, and the man is on record, he was arrested by the UPDF, the Special Forces Command. And you who speaks for the army, you have no idea. Is there another Special Force Command that is paying allegiance to another individual?
You just do not maybe understand what I said. I said, for avoidance of doubt, let me repeat it. Torture is a crime, a criminal offense. If there is that evidence, this one is Kiiza. Kiiza as an office of court, you know how crimes are handled. It's not coming to play the gallery in the media. Go and follow established procedure and have these people charged, arraigned in court, and punished. This thing is there.
Okay.
He's talking about very many things. And
Kano Kakurungu,
and evidence. File it.
Kano Kakurungu, Honorable Muwanga Kivumbi, and Mr. Eron Kiiza. Gentlemen, hold on to your points because we're going to take a break, and on the spot, we'll be right back.
This one is to order for you, sir.
Welcome back. You're watching On the Spot. My name is Patrick Amar. My guests tonight are Lieutenant Col Ronald Kakurungu, acting spokesperson of the UPDF, the Honorable Muwanga Kivumbi, and Mr. Eron Kiiza, who's the defense lawyer for Kakwenza Rukirabashaija, the man now in the eye of the storm and has fled Uganda. So for the people who stood surety for Kakwenza Rukirabashaija, and for you who still has hope in the judicial process of Uganda, what a slap in the face for the sureties.
The sureties haven't been slapped in the face because Kakwenza ran in fear of his life to get the medication to rule out to SFC poison. And once he finishes that from countries whose medical facilities are trusted by their leaders, and like our medical facilities, where no one, not even a member of parliament, wants to get medication from, he will come back and attend to the criminal process. It surely can wait for the man to recover. It surely can wait, and it won't take long, hopefully. But who knows if he recovers much faster. The next hearing date is 23rd of March. Let's pray for his quick recovery. Let's pray that we rule out any long-term UPDF poison so that the man is healthy.
Honorable Muwanga Kivumbi, I know Parliament was talking about censure of the Honorable Jim Muhwezi. You need like a third of Parliament members just to start the motion. I'm told you need more than half, almost 3/4, for you to actually censor the man. Clearly, you are like a man swimming against the current. You will drown in that endeavor.
You know, this is where we come from. Let us do the things we are able to do. We've said the country can no longer afford to have a Minister of Security on whose watch Ugandans are tortured. Now we want to see members of Parliament who are going to come up and say Uganda should have a minister in charge of torture, of security, to preside over torture to the extent of Kakwenza. I'm a humble Ugandan and I'm on a good day when I'm not an honorable member of parliament. I want to see that member of parliament anyway. And which party, political party in Uganda is going to condone that?
How many?
So we've set the bar.
How many times have you been able,
just get
in
me right,
your political discourse?
The burden is not on us. The burden is on those members of parliament who are going to look at this and give it a human face. They should be counted. It's a day for reckoning. So we've discharged our duty. We've set the motion rolling. It's about, are you with us? Are you with the torturers? Or you're on the side of the victims? It's a clear demarcation line in the sand. Where are you standing? So don't ask me to answer for those who are willing to stand the other way. I also want to see them anyway.
Because experience
I don't want to
has shown us
that
every time you want to convince your other colleagues on the other side of the aisle, you never succeed.
I don't want to
so
convince.
You just want to tick
I don't
knowing this is not taking
I
anywhere.
don't want to convince them. I want to see that member of parliament who said it's okay for any Ugandan to be like Kakwenza. That one I want to see. Aren't you waiting to see that person, that Ugandan? Even I was surprised by my friend here. I mean, a soldier worth his soul, the highest level of bravery is admission of truth. That's when you raise to the bar. You don't have a moral authority, obligation to defend the indefensible. Actually, you come off good by saying, this is terrible.
That's what I said.
No. Now,
it's bad. It's a crime.
Yes, we want you to be on the spot. A camera to put saying this.
They say that.
Let them put a camera on you, and look through it and say, Ugandans, if it happened in our name, we apologize. You are a spokesperson of UPDF. Let me tell you about UPDF. Long before I became a politician, I was trading in goods. We would buy them from Kiruhura, Kashari.
And bring them to Kabasanda here.
And give them to Kabasanda and Chisenyi here. Now, I'll tell you a simple story. We would move with millions of shillings. Now, when you would find, and on trucks at night, when you do, when a UPDF vehicle overtakes you, you would all tell the driver, drive fast, and we follow and go behind that UPDF vehicle. Or if it's behind you, make sure it doesn't bypass us, because with them, you are presumed to be safe with your money.
Today they're following them, may see them following.
That's what I'm saying. That's what we are following now. That's the confidence that the UPDF enjoyed to an innocent trader in goods. Now, if UPDF arrested your son, if you have one, okay, are you confident that you don't need to worry what will happen to that son, that will be treated in accordance with the law established? Even if it's your brother. I mean, let us reduce these things to what we go through every day. If you are told, okay, that your brother has been picked by UPDF now, today, will you enjoy the same trust I enjoyed with UPDF while trading in goats? So you will be saying, how will he come out? Will he have eyes? Will he have nails?
So Ronald, Ronald.
So that's where you are now. The moral obligation before you, and it is a humble duty.
I also want to know those people.
It is a humble. No. If there is evidence, if there is evidence, somebody was. Let me tell you. When the terrorists struck here at the square, here in Kampala, I saw UPDF move into action. You mean you've lost touch, you've lost control, that horrible things of that magnitude can happen on your watch. Henry Truman said the buck stops with me. Okay, we want to say, those torturers, who sponsors them? Who trains them? Because they're trained.
We don't train anybody to torture.
Who orders them? Who pays them?
Have you heard that?
Who pays them?
Who's their quartermaster?
Who is their quartermaster?
I've not heard.
No, you see, these things, let me give you small information. These things are very deliberate. A while ago, I was into those lines. If you get instructors from North Korea, if you go to get training in China, okay, how does North Korea behave? If your crowd control mechanism skills is gotten from the land of who is the
Tiananmen Square.
Tiananmen Square. And you mean you don't know your trainers?
Or Xinjiang by the Uyghurs.
You mean you don't know the trainers who are training UPDF? Who are training police in crowd control? Are they from democratic countries?
Crowd control?
Yes.
This is something that is trained here.
Are you sure? Who has been training people here?
I take you to the training school.
No, I know that training school. Who have been the instructors?
Member of Parliament.
Who have been the instructors?
On the Defense and Internal Affairs Committee of Parliament. You want to tell me you're not aware that UPDF has the capacity to train here?
I know, but I've told you, you've been getting training and
from pariah states.
From pariah states.
But
even of Pondo, even at a political level, even of Pondo read for the other day in China for training.
Honing his skill.
Honing his skill. So if this is what you are training to be,
but
are you?
But okay, one at a time. Kanu Kakurungu, when you listen to an honorable member of parliament, he's representing thousands of people, tens of hundreds of thousands.
Yes.
And his voice is a respectable voice. And he's actually giving credit of the UPDF he knew and he respected, that defended him in his duties as a business person. And he also knows the UPDF of today. What happened to you?
I'm saying UPDF is still a credible, disciplined force and dependable for every Ugandan. I'm not saying everybody in the UPDF is an angel. No. I'm not saying that at all. That's what I'm telling you. We have all these established mechanisms of disciplining any errant officers. And you know about them, you don't have to repeat them. In fact, I came with a list of a whole long of people that have gone through court for things to do with crimes involving human rights.
So somewhere, for the things that we see, has the UPDF lost command and control in some structures?
What I'm saying, all of us are investigating this thing. And we want to know where did it come from? Who did it?
Do you have a black operation, a unit? A unit whose job it is to torture?
A what?
Do you have a unit, like a black operation unit?
It's not there. How can you have something like that?
Those orders from above.
The members of parliament have always come to our facilities. They have come and visited our detention facilities. And the race groups have come.
Those units are there. You can
let me hear from Eron.
ICRC has come.
No. Just before you even come in, the last time,
mainly to discipline our office.
The last time a select committee of parliament on human rights, I think not even a committee on human rights, wanted to visit a safe house.
Yes.
Okay. What happened?
I don't know what you call a safe house. What is it?
A torture chamber.
What is a safe house to you?
No, I know the definition of a safe house.
An ungazetted place of detention.
No.
No. A safe house is going to give me a standard that all democratic countries operate safe houses. Okay? I know that, sir. I know that, sir.
Yes, safe house.
But in Ugandan terms, the state house, don't take me to that level. In Ugandan terms, the state safe house is the torture chamber. So don't tell me that all
fact-
democratic
in fact,
countries operate state houses.
I am showing you,
see.
on the image there, on the TV, one of the torture chambers you're talking about was being visited. I'm showing you.
Did you allow members of parliament to enter that one?
Members of parliament.
Those are members of parliament. Do they visit your...
I know this picture you are showing are headquarters of ESO in Uganda. Are you saying ESO is not a statutory organization in the country?
No, what I'm saying, did you allow
Can
members
you
of
just-
parliament to enter?
But you have to do what? Can you just jump into a security office like
You
that?
said members of parliament to visit your facilities freely.
Even if you came here at NTV, by the way, I think there are security protocols on access. Don't you have them? Even at parliament, they're there. So what about...
No, those are members of parliament.
established headquarter? But members of parliament...
You are the one saying that members of parliament, the other, you've just said,
Who visits torture chambers?
who visits torture
They don't
chambers?
know of any torture chamber, sir. Not even one. I'm saying what...
And that one was the chairperson of the Human Rights Committee of Parliament.
It doesn't matter.
No,
I'm
it shouldn't
saying-
matter in a
I'm
country.
saying this picture that is being shown here, this same one,
Yes.
I can tell you is the headquarter of external security organization. So
Yeah.
you think headquarter of external security organization, people should just bump in because they're MPs. You should also have some degree of
No,
respect.
but you see, by the way, that committee had been officially, commissioned by the Speaker on notice to carry out
So did they
investigation.
come and inform the authorities?
So, but,
Do you think they were not speaking to authorities there?
But these were just
so let me so Kakurungu,
and
when-
in fact, I remember,
when-
they
when-
told them, can
when
we
you-
have the leader of the team?
Yeah, that's the lead of the team.
when
That
you
was the
see-
They
chairperson.
cannot come, I don't have to come with the
Kakurungu, when you see people like Masereka, when you see people like Masereka from
There
Kasese,
should be much understanding and respect. for
when you
others.
see people like Masereka from Kasese, people like Kakwenza, people like the former mayor of Kamwenge, who was tortured in places of detention, are you really telling Ugandans that Ugandans are not being tortured in the hands of security agencies and the UPDF?
How many times do I repeat myself, Kamara, and fellow panelists? I've said if there is a case of torture, we all condemn it.
Can you apologize?
We all condemn it. But we must be sure who did it. Now apologize on behalf of what?
So you see, when someone gets into UPDF hands, like Kakwenza did, like Masereka did,
Like the mayor of...
did, like sometimes Vesija and Bobby Wine, at different levels. No man to him say Ferdinand Ruta, all these people, you can't finish.
Manenero and the rest.
Manenero and the rest.
The duty is for UPDF to come here and tell us who has even tortured them. Don't expect, torture doesn't happen like here we are. They blindfold you from the time of arrest until the time of release. In Mbuya, there are dungeons where light never goes.
Have you
People
been
spend, respect my knowledge, Sebo. Respect my knowledge. I've talked to over 100 torture victims. You have not. You only torture, you don't talk to torture victims the way you do. So, Mbuya, there is a torture chamber in Mbuya. There is a torture chamber in Entebbe manned by SFC. There are safe houses around Kampala. You get me? So when Ugandans end up in torture chambers manned by UPDF or other security agencies, it is the duty of security agencies and their mouthpieces like the one here to come and explain how our people entered their chambers and live there with broken noses, broken legs, broken limbs, wounded backs, swollen butts. I mean,
No,
it is the
their
duty of
man
those
would
torture
have spoken
them.
to people whose manhood
Yes.
have been
but
completely...
Don't
Yes.
torture Ugandans and tell them to now to be the ones to explain
Where
it.
does that anger come from?
Who is angry?
To torture Ugandan to that level?
I don't know what.
Yeah, because there must be some level of anger
That's what I meant.
for a
From-
human being to face another
What are you
human being,
fearing?
and they
What are you fearing?
They start digging the body of another human being, beating them with wire,
No, maybe-
with buttons, with
Mr.
gun
Kamara.
butts, with a knife.
Maybe, Mr. Ka, you've asked a very prudent question. What grudge do you have?
Personally,
No. As a the institution, against people of Uganda,
why I say-
what grudge are you trying to settle?
all of us are interested in getting to understand who committed these crimes, if they are there. And if they're there, they will certainly be brought.
It's not a question of if.
So, all right, okay. Let me, Honorable Muwanga Kivumbi, as a member of parliament and a senior member of parliament at that, your job is also to appropriate funds. And I'm sure the Minister of Defense and the UPDF will be coming to you soon asking for money. Even Operation Shuja, I think soon they'll be coming. Don't you have tools at your disposal that you can use as a house of members of parliament? You know, instill discipline through maybe denying them the funds, because that's when they can know.
But Mr. Kamara, before you push it to members of parliament, there is a gentleman who went around this country asking for votes to his own oath, by the way, in front of all Ugandans, in Korolo, in broad daylight. He took it on this very screen we are speaking about. I said, I shall defend and protect the people of Uganda in accordance with the law established. Actually, that's the first call. Defend the constitution, the people of Uganda. That gentleman is called Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. As Henry Truman said, the buck stops with the president. He's the chief executive of this country. Before you go to judicial, because he's the standard bearer, how can an allegation be put that a unit that protects him, okay, that is the closest to him, is the one torturing? And he's comfortable, sits in the State House and doesn't explain. And you want to now say, members of parliament do this, members of parliament do this. How about this gentleman who is on oath? So really, the man in the dock should be the head of state. It is the president. He's the commander-in-chief of all armed forces. Okay? Commander-in-chief of all armed forces is the guy in charge. And we're being told, this boy, we know the origin. His son of a president, and the president the other day comes up and says, oh, don't, you know, he was like so happy with that, what happened? So, it is President Yoweri Museveni who is now in charge of torture. Who is the command of these torturers? Who funds them? Okay? Who funds them? Even the minister we are trying to remove, his AD. Those are ADs of the president. So the spot should be put on the person of Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. After 35 years or 36 years in power, you can't give us this dividend. That's the lowest return on our investment that we could ever get as a country. I think Ugandans deserve better. This is not what who is now enjoying the fruits. When I go to Butambala, there are small houses built there. In there are hundreds of scars of people. 500,000 people died in Ruwero. They didn't die to make Museveni a president and his son a command of land forces, to have a better country where their rights will be respected. It cannot happen. You do not fight in Ruwero. You don't know what we paid, the price our people paid. Yours was not a jungle, we know. How do we pass this way? How can we have this dividend? How do you tarnish a name of UPDF? Gloriously, heroes, people buried, they died for you to enjoy this, what you're enjoying now. But you are here, you can't even apologize, framing innocence. You're a disgrace to history of that institution.
Mr. Eron Kiiza, whereas people have the freedom of speech and expression and all that, the Ugandans have just had the pulse of Ugandans who think, yeah, you can be critical, but don't abuse.
I mean,
because the gentleman you defend in the court of law, with all respect, he has a flowery language, but sometimes he borders into abuse.
Okay.
Is that called for?
Kamara, have you abused someone before? The answer is yes. That is not a crime. And even if it were a crime, like the honorable member of parliament said, there are laws on how to deal with crime. You don't torture, you don't dig someone's body just because they have committed a crime. I mean, that's why we have laws. If people want to live in the bush, they should have remained there. Uganda is a republic. We have a state. A state is governed by laws. The reason states exist and developed is because they were substituting violence and barbarism. It's a sign of civilization that you don't torture people. You incarcerate them according to the law. You detain them for a given period of time. You respect court orders once they are given for their release. You don't capture your citizens as a state and return them to the public in a vegetable state.
You know,
that is cannot be explained by abusing or by flowery language or by even indecency. Because even a murderer should never be tortured. The thing we are discussing here is not morals. The Church of Uganda, the Catholic Church, our clan leaders, let them attend to the morals. Our families, let them attend to the morals. If someone is bad-mannered, wrong language, take them to their villages, their clans, their churches, their mosques, their groups and peers. But the institution called the state, its resources, its policemen, its military, have no business trying to guard the kind of language Eron Kiiza, Kakwenza. I mean, that is a waste of resources. That is a misunderstanding of the law, of the army, of the police. And in any event, the army is not supposed to be torturing Ugandans under any circumstances, not even in war, not even in a situation of emergency. That's why I highlighted the non-derogable nature of freedom from torture. When you start torturing citizens, you are taking us back to the bush war. We need rule of law here. We don't need rule of the jungle. We don't need violence. That's why we have a constitution. Violence is not a way of solving political problems. Violence is not a way of addressing abusive language. Just people, if Kakwenza and Kainerugaba have a Twitter quarrel, that should not suck in the military. That is not, the SF should be nowhere near it. And even if they get close, it shouldn't be to torture him, or Masereka, or Bobby Wine, or Zake, or Ruta, or Masenero, or whichever mayor. No. That's wrong.
You know, Ronald Kakurungu and gentlemen, 2 years ago I read a book, a blockbuster, written by Bill Clinton and co-authored by Bill Clinton and James Peterson, entitled The President is Missing. But somewhere in the middle of this book, as I was reading in the lines, they capture a terrorist, I think from Pakistan, take him to the United States. They want him to speak, and he's hardened, he doesn't want to speak. And they said, you don't want to tell us, but maybe, you know, you have angered so many people in the world. We can take you to the Egyptians, they'll make you talk. And the man still was not talking. He said, wait a minute. All right, if you're hardened, we shall take you to Ugandans. You will tell them. And after that, they'll bring you back to us, or what is left of you. But you can imagine, it is sort of a fictitious novel. But can you imagine, written 2 years ago, and it's happening now? I've just remembered. They said, if you don't want to tell us, we shall take you to the Egyptians. Surely you'll tell them. And if you don't, by the way, even Ugandans want you, we'll take you to the Ugandans, they'll work on you, and they'll bring you back, or what is left of you. Written.
It's a fiction, eh?
Yeah, but you see, it's happening now.
Fiction.
It's happening now. It's happening now.
Why do you want us to discuss fiction?
I'm telling you. You know,
No, why
is
Kakwenza? Why was Kakwenza tortured for a week by CMI? Because of fiction. Even now,
his book, The
the
Good the Barbarian.
tweets are more of a red herring. The reason they tortured him was because the Banana Republic is on Amazon, and Mohozi and other SFC generals ordered him to remove it, and he's not going to remove it. I'm happy. So let us not pretend that fiction doesn't play a role. In Uganda, actually, you get arrested, you get beaten for fiction, whether it is Teranyanzi, whether it is what, and even the governments they overthrew, they were misbehaving with some critical writers, fiction, and so on. So that one, let's not go there.
Gentlemen, Ronald Kakurungu, Honorable Muwanga Kivumbi, and Eron Kiiza. We're going to take a break, and on the spot we'll be back. When we come back, I'll open the lines. You'll see the numbers on the screen. pick your phone and tell us what you want to say. And should you be in disagreement with any of us here, that's okay. It's the nature of debate. But please disagree with respect. We'll be right back. You know that book, Come Back. You're watching On the Spot. My name is Patrick Amara, and my guests tonight are Eron Kiiza, defense lawyer and human rights of Rukirabashaija Kakwenza, and the human rights activist or human rights lawyer, Honorable Muwanga Kivumbi, and the acting spokesperson of the UPDF, Lieutenant Colonel Ronald Kakurungu. If something that I saw, Ronald, that is idiotic, that is senseless, that is inhuman, was done to one of our colleagues in the media, Mr. Jimmy Akena, beaten on the streets of Kampala by the UPDF on
they were arrested.
Yes, on camera.
And arraigned.
Yes. But even when he was holding a camera, doing his job, he had surrendered to them, but they continue beating him. This, yes, but you know what? Because this was seen and captured on camera. But if November 2020, what happened on the streets of Kampala?
Even
people were shot, more than 60 people shot dead. In Kasese.
But in what circumstances?
In Kasese. They surrounded the palace of the Omusinga. Over 100 were shot dead. So somehow
people
this is almost becoming a norm. You have a big job. A big job.
But do you know how dangerous some of these groups are? You have been talking about Masereka. Do you know why Masereka was arrested in the first place? And Masereka was not arrested alone anyway. There were 4. How come it is only him who is saying that he was tortured?
Not just saying, he's showing us wounds, and we are saying it is irrelevant why he was arrested. It's irrelevant. Don't torture him. Listen. You cannot use some reason that someone is dangerous and torture him. The law doesn't allow UPDF to torture any Ugandan, however dangerous. So don't tell me.
Masereka is dangerous, so he deserved this?
Do you have evidence that Masereka was tortured?
Yes.
Those are the things I'm asking.
Yes, I have evidence, I have seen it. And by the way, let me clarify this point. When someone is tortured, it is the duty of UPDF, which has released him, or a police officer who gets him from UPDF. They normally dump them in SIU. Let me finish.
Those are the wounds of
dump
Masereka.
them in SIU.
Where was he?
The torture law, which Kivumbi and others passed, put a duty on each of us who sees a torture victim to report that torture and start the process. So the police gets involved. How come the military and police have not reported the torture of Masereka? Why are you now waiting for the war?
All these things are being.
Are you going to report it now that you have seen it, or you have?
I have evidence that this is torture.
No, camera show him. Will you do it tomorrow if we show you? You show him.
What shows that it is torture? That's what I was telling you.
So those are jiggers, eh?
So, okay.
From CMI, if someone...
What if he has a skin complication?
Kakunguru, when someone comes from CMI like that...
What if he had...
Why are they getting skin complications from Mbuya?
Okay, what if he went to the detention facility like that? Do we know?
Yes, we know he was...
Were you there when he was arrested?
Are you saying he was arrested when he was like that?
These are the questions we are putting to the investigators.
Those are birthmarks.
No.
You know.
Why you there when he was being arrested?
But are you even investigating?
Did you see the condition before arrest?
In the defense of the UPDF, Ronald, if you're going to defend them, you better use your words very carefully.
No, I'm talking.
Because when it comes,
you see, it is not enough, sir. What I'm telling you. I'm saying,
are not fools,
I'm saying, to you. Yes, they are listening and watching, of course. I'm telling you.
That they had a skin complication.
Listen, I'm telling you, as a matter of fact, Masereka was not arrested alone. How come he's the only one who is claiming that he was tortured? And they were arrested on the same offense, the 4 I'm talking about.
So according to you, he went with these wounds? I
don't know. I'm not the one who arrested him. I'm saying
it happens every day.
There should be.
Just because someone was...
among the investigating lines, all these things should be followed. In what condition was he when he was brought to detention? When he was brought to detention, what happened? There should be a medical report. From there, where was he taken? Where was he released from? Under what circumstances?
Okay. Has UPDF ruled out? Has UPDF ruled that out? You see,
an
when that guy... No, are you sure UPDF has initiated an investigation? When someone is tortured in your premises... When someone is tortured in your premises, you are supposed to conduct a speedy investigation and rule out that. Don't wait for the war.
The investigation is there. Who told you that we're waiting for the war?
I've opened the line so that
there are people in
Ugandans listening and watching tonight
investigated.
can be a part of this discussion. Call us and tell us what you think. And probably you're a relative of one of those who were tortured. I know of a gentleman called Matua Job Richards. Just because he was always on Twitter and, you know, talking, he was picked, taken to Mbuya. For more than 38 days, Matua Job Richards was incarcerated. He came back, not the usual man. Thank God he wasn't. He didn't have wounds on his body, but
no, he didn't have a skin disease.
Thank God he never picked a skin disease. What did Matua Richards do? Just express himself. 38 days in detention for no reason.
I don't know that case.
Yeah, I'm just telling you.
It gets worse. People spend their years in Mbuya. It's unfortunate, but true.
I can't talk about things that they do not know.
Mr. Kamara.
Yes.
But I talk about things
But you see, we've seen the build-up of all this, okay? Sometimes back, a man called Kakwenza Rukirabashaija, under Kalangan Action Plan, moved on the streets from one town to another, beating Ugandans, wearing a UPDF uniform, moving with the soldiers of UPDF. That came and went. After it's like now they are beating us in shifts.
Presidential Protection Unit went to Rukungi and beat up whoever they found
supporting message. They beat. So,
Kalangal Action Plan.
Kalangal Action Plan. The plan was beating. By who? UPDF. Now, that's why for me, that's why for me,
does not represent the entire UPDF.
No, for me, what I'm saying, was he apprehended? Don't you know him? Go and arrest him. Now, we've told you one, Kakwenza Rukirabashaija. No, you go after Kakwenza Rukirabashaija.
Just because Honorable Muwanga Kivumbi has said that he should be arrested.
No, it's a matter of public record.
Public record.
Kakwenza beat up Ugandans in broad daylight. Have you investigated and ruled that out? Because that's the thing. You are claiming you're good at investigating, you do it. What have you done? Okay.
That one was, you don't even need to investigate. He was doing it on the street.
What are the facts on ground, on paper? Was the case reported? That's what I'm saying.
No, you don't need a case to be reported. Even you, Kakunguru, has a duty to report the case of Kakwenza Rukirabashaija. You know he beat people. What did you do?
I don't know. I was not there.
You were blind?
I was not there.
You were young.
I don't know. No, you want me to admit something that I did not.
So for me, for me, dear listeners and our host here.
What is this talking about?
No. If you are still in Napi, we are sorry. We are sorry. But
so bring that information.
But let's face the facts.
But actually,
the colonial
get beaten, they die or their careers die.
Yes.
It's a very inconvenient.
You see, when so many Muslims were being killed, the usual line was they're terrorists. Let me tell you, I'm a member of Parliament representing a huge...
Even before you go ahead, you talk of Muslims. I know of children and women who were arrested and beaten just because of marrying Muslims.
Yeah.
And the police knows that fire, and they were hidden in Mukono. There is a campaign, something, school.
Now you're also going a very wrong.
So the point I was trying to make.
You see, or you're saying that because they're married to Muslims.
You see,
there is no one here who has been arrested or detained because of being this or that. If you are a criminal, it does not matter what religion you are. It does not matter what political party.
I'm saying they were not criminals. I'm saying they were not criminals. No charges were leveled against them. They were illegally detained and later, under pressure, released simply because they had married Muslims.
So are you saying they were arrested because they married Muslims?
I am telling you. I am telling you. Quote me. If I am wrong,
handle me according to what I'm telling you. They were arrested, detained in Mokono, not just women, children, around 34 children and 4 women marrying Abdul Rashid Bazira. You know that Muslim man. His wives, 4 wives, and around 30 children. Yes, it's a live example. Okay, it's a live example I'm giving you.
Let me bring you. By the way, let me say this.
I speak facts.
Our phone line.
And you're saying
my producer
yes,
is telling
I've told you, quote me. I'm telling you that around 4 women.
One at a time, gentlemen. Unfortunately, we have many of you Ugandans who would want to participate in this discussion. But I understand from a producer that the phone line, as of now, has been blocked. So that's why you cannot send any message. Why have you blocked it? I don't know why, but that's the message I have. However, you can be able to reach us using other means. And one of them is Twitter. Or maybe if you have no any number around, you can also send your SMS or your WhatsApp. But let me pick a message that has come on WhatsApp, and I don't know who this one is. He says there's an NGO in Kamocha which rehabilitates and gives counseling to torture victims. It's hell when you hear victims' accounts. And let me also give you another one. I think Kakurungu is a spokesperson of the UPDF in Congo and Somalia, but I don't think he can say anything on behalf of SFC, the military, etc. And the others, I wouldn't want to say, because the language used is not as flowery.
It's uncivilized.
But it shows anger. I'm going to conclude this program tonight because where we've reached now, we are regurgitating the same points we've had, and I can see the boiling point. I don't want to reach that. So I'm calling for parting shots. Let me begin with you, Honorable Muwanga Kivumbi.
For me, my parting shots, one, the colonials handed us a country called Uganda. It was not our choosing. Okay? We simply were brought together by a colonial force. But I think we have a moral duty and not an wholesome obligation to build this country into a nationhood based on shared values and key democratic principles. And these are very simple. They are well enshrined in the law. Don't torture. Okay? Okay? Don't enslave. No corruption. No nothing. These are achievable things as a country. Why is it? Because my fear is that some people, there is a group that thinks that for you to lead a country, you must be feared. For those who want to aspire to lead Uganda, you should, one, be respected and have the going solutions for our everyday challenges. We don't need a fearsome fellow. So whoever wants to be a president of Uganda and think by instilling fear, you'll come out and say, oh, for me, that is a dear leader of North Korea. But if you really want to lead Uganda now and in the future, and our UPDF, okay? Your UPDF was from the trenches. This is the last thing you should see. I don't know what generals, senior generals are now looking at you, who fought in Ruwero for these values. So as you do these things, some of you, remember there are people who died for this country. And my brother here, speak true to power. You may not be a brigadier or a general if you did, but history shall also put you right. And as I think where it has reached, let all Ugandans in their humble origins, in their humble homes, do all they can, use what they have, and condemn this in totality.
Nobody, by the way, should not stop.
And that for me, that for me is my.
And any crime. That's what it started with.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you are condemning it.
Absolutely.
You are apologizing.
Lieutenant Colonel Kakurungu, what's going to be your parting shot?
My parting shot is that you have concentrated the entire discussion on torture. I thought we would talk about other things, but it's okay. I want to say and repeat that Nobody in this country in any position of leadership, be it in the security forces, be it in the executive, I've not had any, not even one.
Just hold on. There's just one Ugandan managed to call. Just hold on. I didn't want to stop you. We have a call online. Hello.
Hello.
Yes. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Good evening to you.
Good evening. I can't hear you so well. Let me ask my producer to add up some.
I'm calling.
I'm sorry?
How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Please tell us your name again and where you're calling from.
I'm calling from Paris.
Okay.
I'm calling
Unfortunately,
I'm sorry for my brother, and it is not.
no, we have.
What's happening? Even after the town, we are feeling.
No, we are having comms challenges to really get what you're trying to say. The line is not very clear. Apologies for that. Maybe you can try again, or maybe I didn't hear what you wanted to say, and that's very unfortunate. Sorry for the bad line.
I didn't.
Conclude your issue before we come to.
I've not heard any leader anywhere saying torture is something that should be used. Not at all. From the president down to everybody. And for Honorable Kivumbi to say that we are trying to lead in a fierce way, that we should be feared. I think you have really seen leaders who want to be feared and how they indeed have been feared. We have not reached there, and we don't intend in any way to reach there, and we cannot allow ourselves to get there. If there is a problem about torture, yes, that's why we have all come here and we're talking about it. We are saying, if it is UPDF, if it is police, but do you know that other individuals also torture, other than security forces? And those security forces themselves at some point have been having their rights violated by these hooligans, some of them whom you try to come here and defend all the time, attacking soldiers and policemen on uniform, on duty. Haven't you seen them? Nobody should condone any crime anywhere. But what I'm saying, it is not proper to come here on the national TV and start throwing blanket statements. UPDF is now a disgraceful force. UPDF has now gone to the dogs.
This is what as
we are saying. If there is a person, an individual who has committed a mistake, who has committed a crime, torture or anything,
who has given
a
wrong command.
As you conclude, I want to tell you the words that have come from Baguma Joshua in Ikenjojo. The spokesperson has lost touch and is detached from reality just to defend his job. But sooner or later he will be dumped like the previous ones and the world will watch him. He can also be a subject of torture. Besigye and Muntu served in better positions, but they are now living in humiliation.
I'm not a spokesperson forever, and nobody said that I will not be.
Well, these are some messages coming from Ugandans, and I thought I should just read it for you.
No.
Thank you so much, Joshua Baguma. Okay, Mr. Eron Kiiza, your parting shot.
Torture is spiraling out of control in Uganda. It's not by mere some errant officers or isolated incidents. It is systematic and systemic. So institutions are now responsible for torture, and it's not just enough to blame individuals, although individuals must be blamed, but so should institutions which are condoning torture, which are condoning officers who are so-called errant and not penalizing them, not rejecting them, not terminating their services and not disciplining them.
The one who handled the people of Kasese was promoted.
All right.
Just say that the torture should not be tolerated in Uganda, whether by anyone. And I want to agree with Ronald that there are incidents of private individuals, even politicians, engaging in torture. But that is no license for our forces, for law enforcers, who should lead the way in respecting the dignity and rights of Ugandans to also do wrong things. So let's all as a country, I think, adhere to rule of law, respect the dignity and rights of each other, and together try to build a country that the people who framed the 1995 Constitution had hoped for.
And a comment has come from a number I don't have in my phone, and it says those opposition people, they needed that It is the only language they can hear. The level of hooliganism had gone high. Thank you, UPDF. That is from, I don't know, can't tell, but I'll find out who you are, sir.
But
or madam.
is illegal in
and somebody says, good evening, sir. I don't agree with torture as a person, but to extent, some deserve it. Some people, that's the only language they understand. Really? I also getting this from somebody I do not know.
It's their right.
It's
as
their
a
right
Democrat. As a Democrat.
Okay.
It is their right. You know the maximum of
Lieutenant
Democrats.
Col Ronald Kakurungu, I want to thank you so much for your time.
Please, sir.
The Honorable Muwanga Kivumbi, I want to thank you. Mr. Eron Kiiza, I want to thank you.
Okay.
I know we have a good country and we're good people. Ugandans have gone through a very tumultuous past. But as a people and as a country, we always pull through. I know even this, we shall pull through because we are Ugandans, we are one family, we are good people and a good country. There's no situation that is permanent. Even what is hurting you right now will come and go. Good night and God bless Uganda.
Amen.